Extreme weather is sweeping over several parts of Africa.
Crops are struggling to survive in Zambia.
More than 1 million hectares of maize have been destroyed by the worst drought to hit Zambia in decades.
When we talk about adaptation, we have to talk about the fact that this is not a technical term. This is the reality that African countries and African communities live every day.
The water used to reach somewhere here in 1977. All this, there was water. From February, March, this is July now, the water is somewhere there down. After this one, we go to that one. From that one, is when I will write a report so that engineers should come and we put another one inside the river. That's the position we have at the moment.
Africa has historically emitted the least amount of emissions, but it's now suffering the most. Communities, farmers are losing their crops, their land is not yielding the same.
Mendime munjanji kezwe. Ndiri mulimi omuno chividomya simamu. So ndiri mulimi wa indu isiene mapoga, beans, sunflower. Ino jira kuti chupama ninge ninene ni hula. Ni hula taiwika potuke. Tuambe buli 2022 to 2023 at least yagawawa. Akuti twakati twaguhya gonsizeable buli ndime kundikama ndali kuchite almost 65 bags but kuti hula yawa bwerede talerete kuguhya ma bags atalere ku 300 so ihula tia ya nyongaji magaze gakwale yakuti ngo ali magwinda wawo inohula ali problem uhula mani so kuti ola kukhala mutukhala kuli kupenga maningi yatawahula amenda tago jakulya ja ng'ombe tajiko jakulya wesu tu bantu tajiko.
My name is Chimuka Hanyama. I'm from Lusitu. I am a farmer, but professionally I'm also a teacher. Previously, we have been doing very fine as far as farming is concerned, but this year the rains haven't been enough, so sourcing water has been a problem, and so we depend largely on mechanical irrigation, where you have to get water from the river, which has unfortunately dried.
My name is William Chilofia. I'm from Kafiwe in Zambia. I'm a small-scale farmer that really love it. Drought is currently affecting Zambia. A lot of Zambians are in miserable situations, and it's really a big challenge. This hasn't only affected human beings, but also livestock has been greatly affected. Farmers are now meant to cover kilometers and kilometers just to look for water for their livestock. Also, families now have been put in a position where they really have to rationalize in terms of what they need to eat.
This is the Kafiwe River. The river is shrinking. in the past, yes, it had a lot of fish, but this time the fish is becoming down. Reason, last year we experienced the drought, so there was not enough water. When water levels come down, so the fish does not found in the glass. You know, when the water has gone high, it means the fish has proper places to stay. They hide in the glass.
Ine zina langa ndine Mary Dimba Mwemba, ninkala kuno kulukolongo ukafie district. Last year tinalima at least olo drought inankalako but tinakololako pang'ono. Manje this year kuli biletu.
This drought has been widespread. It has affected 84 districts out of 116 districts. There's water shortage out there, or reduced water availability. There's reduced crop production in the country, particularly on maize, our staple food crop. Out of about 2.2 million hectares that were planted of maize, about 1 million hectares has gone to waste because of the drought. So you can imagine the food security situation out there in the communities. The president declared the drought as a national disaster and emergency on 29th of February of this year, and he immediately gave a directive in terms of the measures that we need to take to build resilience. First of all, to respond to the drought, but also to ensure that we build the adaptive capacity and resilience of our communities and the economy in the short term, medium term, and long term.
So adaptation is not an option. It's not a privilege. It's a necessity. And Africa has to adapt to this new reality, but it has to be supported to adapt to this reality. So this year, in November, in Baku, Azerbaijan, the world is coming to agree on a new climate finance. We call it in technical terms the NCQG, the new collective quantified goal for climate finance. We have to agree on a goal that first reflects the true needs of Africa and the vulnerable communities.
Zambia, we have already put in place a national adaptation plan. And by the way, we only became the 16th African country to put in place a national adaptation, which is a record that we are proud of as a country. And then in our national adaptation plan, what we have done is that we have identified 9 sectors that are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And beyond just the identification of the sectors, we have also put in place strategies or measures on how to address those vulnerabilities and risks in those sectors. And then the other thing is that to implement the National Adaptation Plan, we require financing.
The Zambia we know today is a different Zambia than it was some 20 years ago, where certain things were as programmed. So we need to update ourselves with information, and we shouldn't always rely on people bringing this information to us as farmers, but we also have to go out and begin to read and search for this particular information. Also, pay attention to those that publish or talk about agriculture issues that we think could benefit us as farmers, so that we improve on the level of adapting to this current situation that we're living in today. But as well, an appeal to the government that they could also help farmers by ensuring that there is effective research and development when it comes to these drought resistant crops, and that information is also circulated to the farmers and clearly labeled that this and that crop is good for you during this kind of season or during this kind of weather pattern.
2020 to 2021 ndakalili midi ogenda kachita zo ndahanga mapoga so mulatiyaga kuchitaka tu before ndakabona kuti ati achitakapotungula ndakajanda njiya ng'ombe ndalima ng'ombe akula nani soga mwihonta akuhyanga no kuti nesingula akayima chiteni soga mwihonto yanka kuma chitengula yunka pia kumpeyo irapa kapoto ndakayikutebula almost 20 bucks njiya ndikwaya.
We need a lot of awareness to show us farmers that things probably have changed. The second one is we need financial resources to enable, especially the rural farmers, to be able to adapt to the changes in climate. And then maybe we also need capacity building for a few farmers that are able to sustain themselves so that they can go into sustainable production.
Tinaona climate change ambaye chilengeza climate change ni kujua vimitengo. So vimitengo tinasiya kutinakamba tisazijuba mitengo sazisoka malasha. So tiambeko monga solar ni energy power. Chinangu ine naganiza ati mwamene tajubira maona kudala malupiri kuti be vimitengo. So tieni tisunge mitengo yatu ili malupiri tise kujuva. So tinapangisa biogas. Biogas so tinakamba tinkale na energy power yakuti kusebenzesa vintu vamene sizitengako mitengo lokushoka malasha vopepuka vija. So
if we do not have sufficient capacity at all levels, whether you're talking about national, subnational level, if we don't have sufficient capacity, then we will not be able to effectively implement the National Adaptation Plan. As we go to Baku, one of the important things that I think should be raised and emphasized, particularly for Africa, is that we need to increase the resources. For Africa, our context is adaptation. I know that we can do so much as Africa on the mitigation side, but we are on the receiving end of the adverse impacts of climate change. We need to adapt, and therefore we need to enhance mobilization at global level of adaptation finance. And the adaptation finance in this instance includes loss and damage.
All of us need to be saying the same message: climate justice, climate finance, accessible climate finance that truly reflects the realities of the most vulnerable. So let's push for this message together.